The content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you. What's happening, everybody? What's happening? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. This is the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chasers. And you know, before I get things started, I always got to give a shout out to the members of the Green Gorilla channel, my gorillas. I want to give a shout out to Coach DC, D Remedy, Kashif Caldwell, Infamous Chillin', I Am Black Man, John Reads Too Much, Nachecha, Leroy Honeycutt, True King 337, B Hillfire, Forrest Windu, Michael Caviness, Urban Nomad, Raphael Brown, Barnolis, Cal J. Sura, I'm Just Jules, The Book of Ronin, Ab Media 83, Damon Harris, Brian McMurray, Mr. Lou Meth, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Shop Talk Live, Ryan Jackson, The Face, Mr. Heat, David the Man, Afro Analyst, NEU, Ronan Martin, Black Quizzard ADOS, Camp Low, Isa Abdul Sahir, Sir Anthony, Deshaun Nolly, MLR, Charles Rogers, Black Dog, Universal 178, Black Sword 404, Rashid Barnes, Aaron Smith, DH, C Truth the Revelator, Gold Professor, The Nameless Protagonist, Black Pill Ned Stark, Arthur Unknown, Odd Collard, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Brian Williams, Kalanja Kala, Sherrod Martin, Ricky Dawson, Cedric Bowman, True 7360, BK Born Shaheed, James Washington, Hostile Adept, Seven Coast Dojo, W Pure One, Rogus the Billmonger, I Care, Lady Miss Thing Green, BGS Ivmore, and Marvin Battle Jr. Thank you so much for being members of the Green Gorilla channel. I'd like to give you a round of applause. Thank you so much for your ongoing help and all of your ongoing support. I really and truly appreciate it. Sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, man. Real talk. And you know, we're going into a new year. And I just want to remind you guys, if you are going anywhere, to stay safe. Because, you know, people clown on New Year's Day. The day going into New Year's, the people clown. So just be careful if you're going out here. I'm not going anywhere, man. It's the COVID. You know, I ain't trying to get out there and mix it up. Still out here, you know. But be safe if you get out. If you're at home, be safe. Watch out for the jakes, you know. But anyway, man, I want to thank all of my members, man. I started this channel somewhere around 7 months ago. So, you know, I've had a good deal of success related to the newness of me being here. So thank you again, man. All of the members, man, shout out to y'all, man. Shout out to y'all, man. Thank you. Because I never expected to have this amount of success in this shorter period of time in this format. So I appreciate it. Thank you. 7 months. And I got 70 subscribers. Not 70 subscribers, but 70 members who are dedicated towards helping to support the channel, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Love. Love, 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 man. Crazy love, like Brian McKnight, man. Love to y'all, bro. And if you are inquiring about how you can become a member of the Green Gorilla channel, well, here's how. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. I'd like to thank Black Quizzard for renewing his membership to the Green Gorilla channel. I appreciate that, bro. I really do, man. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, bro. Thank you. And as you all know, I inquired as to whether or not you would be interested in purchasing t-shirts. So I, for the most part, got them, designed and everything. And again, if you want to take a look at what they look like, this is what they look like. Hold on, I got to get to it. This is what they look like. I don't know if you can see that, but I assume you can. Let me go back out of this and dip back into it. This is what they look like. All right. Now, I already got one purchase. I'm a dollar digit midget, but hey man, it is what it is. So I see a lot of people like the design or what have you. So when you get the opportunity, man, go ahead and cop one of them joints. But I was kind of taken aback by a comment I saw. I was kind of thrown off a bit. So Dr. Johnson purchased one of the joints, man. He's the only one that has done so thus far. And shout out, thank you, Doc Johnson. I appreciate your support, man. But it fucked me up when I looked at a comment, because I looked at the comment and I saw that this guy named Jack Frost left one, and this is what it said. It said, "You don't think you need to get your weight up before you start hitting your customers up with merch? ? Damn, laughing emoji, laughing emoji, laughing emoji." And I'm thinking to myself, like, God damn. Like, God damn. Like, what did I do to this brother, man, to receive that kind of response? I'm like, damn, all I'm trying to do is to provide the subscribers that I have with some cool shit, and this guy's straight knocking my shit, man. And let me just make this a moment where I don't want to draw negative attention to this brother, man. But I think that all too often, man, that black people, man, we have this negative conception about other people, man. And we got a lot of envy in us, man. A lot of hating shit going on with us, man. It's like, imagine that I'm down on my luck and I'm using this to try to come up, or whatever the case may be. And this is my hustle, and you got a motherfucker that don't know you, don't have nothing to do with you, knocking your hustle, man. Like, what the fuck, man? See, I started to go off, man, and start cursing and, calling this guy all kind of bitch-made motherfuckers and all this, but I'm not going to do that, man. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. Instead, what I would like for you guys to do, let me go back to the display, man. Let me go back to the display. Let me go back to this scene, man. The transition. I'm gonna go back to the display. I want you all, man, go subscribe to this brother's channel, man. He's got 428 subscribers, man. Go subscribe to his channel. Because obviously, man, there's, a little something going on. I don't know why, but I don't limit myself, man. I'm always thinking about how can I improve myself and what I do in this space. And I'm not going to wait for YouTube to give me permission to do anything, because I'm a hustler. I've been one. Gonna stay one. A1. So the guy has a site where he grows buds. But subscribe to his channel, please. I'm asking you. I'm begging you. Subscribe to the man's channel, man. See, this is how we handle this. We're not going into the new year hating on each other, sneak dissing each other, speaking deprecatingly about each other. We're going to go into the new year with a new mentality. Subscribe to this brother's channel, man. Subscribe to his channel, man. Give him some support. Because at one time, I used to grow bud. I used to be a dope dealer. Okay? I ain't gonna lie. I used to sell 2s and 4s, 7s, 14s, 28s, 56s, 112s, 224s, and 448s. That's what I used to do. But I don't do that anymore, man. I cashed out of that game. That game ain't going nowhere. But all I'm saying is support that brother's channel, man. Support his channel. Help him get his weight up. Help him get a following so that he can get monetized. Let's do that for him, man. Because I'm going to tell you this. We have nothing to gain by throwing salt on one another. We just don't have nothing to gain from that. Nothing. Let's help each other, man. Let's go into the new year with a new mentality. So that we think about each other in terms of, if I see another brother doing well, it doesn't mean I'm doing bad. Let's look at this beyond the zero-sum game. Let's start to look at life and each other as, if you winning, that means that I can grow in a network of people who are winning. Let's look at it as your success is enhancing and increasing the ability for me to be successful. Help the brother out. So instead of killing each other, let's kill each other with kindness. Can we kill each other with kindness? That's what I want us to do in this new year. So the brother's channel, I'm going to put the link to his channel so you can go straight to his channel and sub. Because we're not going to do this monkey and this clown shit. We're not going to do that. Because that's lower than low, man. That's how we stay down. That's how we stay at the bottom. By being envious of each other. And the funny thing is, man, I tried to explain to people, man, in the last show I did, that black people have 1% of the ownership of the stock of the most wealthy companies in this country. We all out here suffering, man. Ain't none of us got our motherfucking weight up. That's the problem. We gotta get our weight up. So don't knock the brother, man. Help him get his weight up. Help him get monetized. Because it don't cost nothing to subscribe to another man's channel. It don't cost nothing. So help that brother out, man. Help him out, man. So we're not going to kill each other. We're going to kill each other with kindness. I already know that the reason that I have what little success I do have is based upon 3 individuals. Angry Man, BGS, and Dr. Tia Johnson. So whatever they say about me, however they critique me, they can call me all kind of bitches and hoes anytime they want. They the ones who are responsible for my success. It is what it is. But we want to help people grow. That's what we want to do in this space, man. Now, I did go off on a brother yesterday, or who I thought was a brother yesterday. I don't know if it is or not, because the talking points that he had were quite negative. And it was negative towards black people. Now, if the guy was saying something negative about black people, I probably would have went off on him too. But he just went at me. I'm fair game. You can go off on me all day. You can call the Green Gorilla all kind of bitches and hoes, whatever you want to call me. And I'm fine with that. I'm a public figure, so you can go at me in any way you want to go at me. But I'm not going to let you go off on black men or other black people in the space to the point where we're disparaging ourselves. I'm not going to do that. Now, we can argue about each other, and eventually we might be able to resolve those difficulties. But we're not going to come out and just start saying that the black community or black men specifically are inherently or ontologically pathological, morally bankrupt, or somehow uncivilized and uncultured. We've been through a lot. So let's go into this new year thinking positive. Let's go into this new year thinking that we can uplift each other instead of stifling each other's progress. Let's think like that instead of thinking negatively. So make sure that you give Jack Frost some support. So, having said that, I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, we're going to get off into the proceedings this evening, which was American slavery primarily dominated by men? I'll be right back at you.
I told you to do Biden. Now we done lost a damn vote. We done lost a vote. That's gonna go to Trump. God damn.
I mean, when you mention black people, you mentioning black women. So don't count yourself out.
No, that's not true.
So we're back. I'm the G with a PhD. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. And I want to remind you that, we're working on a crowdfunding campaign for this documentary, The White People of Black People. It will open up tomorrow. I want you to go support that campaign. It's going to cost a little bit of money in order to make this documentary. This is not something I want to sit here and cook up on Final Cut Pro in my home. This needs to be taken to a commercial establishment, which I've already secured. And we need to get to work. We need to get to cooking. Because we can cook in YouTube, but we need to cook in the society at large. The individual who I've been in conversation with has just recently completed a documentary, and it's on Amazon Prime. I'll give you the link so you can see his work, his craftsmanship. But I want to take it to a, something more, racy or whatever the case may be. But I mean, the guy does excellent work. And it takes money to do this. We can get 10,000 men in the manosphere to give $5. We can get this shit done. Let's get it done, man. Let's not shoot the breeze about it, but be about it. Let's get it done, man. I ain't doing this shit clout chasing. I'm doing this because I'm dedicated to this. My heart is in this. I'm not fucking around with this for the sake of YouTube. I'm doing this because of political reasons, personal reasons. Let's get this done, man. Let's go. Anyway, man, got to get to the topic at hand. Was the slave trade dominated by men? I have an academic article published by the Journal of Interdisciplinary History, 1992. Okay? And I'm going to read some excerpts from this so we can establish whether or not slavery was actually something that happened to men and women, or did it primarily happen to black men? And if it's something that primarily happened to black men, well then, how do we begin to think differently about our experience in this country and about how currently we're treated by the women in our community, who overwhelmingly argue that, they've suffered the most? Now, I'm not saying that they didn't suffer. I'm saying that they did. But if this was primarily a male sport, then we got to tell the truth about it. Ain't nothing good coming out of lies and half-truths. We got to be real 100% with this. All the way through and through. So we can get to the bottom of our problems and come up with a realistic solution and not deal with platitudes and not deal with conventional wisdom. Let's get to the real wisdom. Let's do the knowledge on it for real, man. Let's do the knowledge. And let's do it academically. Not that there's any, superiority associated with it, as much as it is. It's a method to it. Let's look at the facts according to people who study it for a living. That's the reason we go there. That's the reason we do this. We go to the academicians. We don't go to blog sites and shit. We don't go to agencies and groups that promote specific viewpoints on this. We want to go to the scholars who do internal review board and peer-reviewed research on issues. And in that way, we can get to some semblance of the truth of the matter, instead of what we see on TV or what we see in the movies. We got to get to the realness, the 100 of the matter. So the article is called, "Was the Slave Trade Dominated by Men?" Again, it's an old paper. But there's nothing new about this. People have known what the real was about this matter for quite a bit of time. It's black folks catching up. We don't even know what we went through. And you got white boys writing papers on this shit. And we don't even know what the fuck happened. I think that's a problem, man. There's a disconnect. And then, when it comes to matters like this is a no-no, a hush-hush in the black community, or among members of our demographic and our population. We don't want to talk about shit like this. And if you do, you got to go into a dark corner and start whispering. Fuck that shit. I'm talking out loud, man. I ain't scared of nobody in this motherfucker, man. So look, what does it say from the very beginning? That adult males accounted for the major share of the transatlantic slave traffic forms one of the few unquestioned givens that the newer historiography of slavery shares with the old. Let me repeat it. that adult males accounted for the major share of the transatlantic slave traffic forms one of the few unquestioned givens. Because the historical record provides such abundant support for this view, it is scarcely surprising. In the British case, Long stated that, quote, not a sixth part of all the slaves shipped were women. And as early as the mid-17th century, Ligon urged planters to change their policy and buy equal ratios of men and women. Few children were entering the trade in that era. These are just two, albeit from the more august authorities, meaning, just two. And they're from the more substantive, the more credible authorities. They are of many similar comments. Other evidence includes the numerous records of instructions to slaver captains in all branches of the trade to buy only males. And the well-known fact that heavy work intensities were associated with the cultivation of sugar on plantations. A review of this material tells us not only why historians came to view the slave trade as dominated by men, but also why the explanation for this conclusion was centered on the labor requirements of plantations in the Americas. And then they go on to say what has changed in recent years is not the perception itself, but rather explanations of the supposedly high ratio of adult males. If the standard interpretation stressed the role of the heavy work requirements of plantations in the Americas and the supposed cost advantage in buying new adult rivals rather than raising slaves from birth, then a more refined recent version of this view has laid stress on the higher mortality of males after arrival in the Americas. Thus, planters purchase more males in order to keep the sex ratios of survivors on the plantations more evenly balanced. So what is this telling you? Just look at that sentence. The planters purchased more males in order to keep the sex ratios of survivors on the plantations more evenly balanced. That's telling you something right there. What could it possibly be, people? It's telling you that they treated male slaves more harshly and they put them in the fields and the sugarcane plantations and wherever else the hell they were, where the labor was required to have them go work to the fucking bone. It was primarily thrust on the blacks and men. Yes. So, look, one of the reasons for which there's parity in numbers, in ratios amongst men and women during slavery was because they worked men to fucking death. To death. To death. But we have a necro envy today. Now we're talking about who dies the most today. When from the beginning, it was black men who died the most. But there's an alternative view. Looks at the supply side and pointing to the high value of women in Africa, both as workers and as biological extenders of those kin groups that form the central institution in many African societies. Let me put this to you real plain and simple on some gully, gutter, simple shit. Who the fuck gives up their women and put them through slavery? Who the fuck does that in any civilization or society? Oh, here you go, freely. Who the fuck does that for real? You keep the women to yourself. You keep the women to yourself, man. But anyway, the desires of planters in the Americas and of those of the power elites in Africa therefore dovetailed in a preference for male slaves. So it's in the interest of white planters to have male slaves because you can put them to more rigorous work, more strenuous work. And it's to the advantage of people in Africa because they want to keep their women. But let's keep on. In this article, we analyze new data on the slave trade and set that traffic against the backdrop of other transoceanic flows of labor in order to address two questions. First, is the subject of the above debate appropriate, or in what sense, if any, was the slave trade dominated by adult males? Second, having established the actual ratios of females and children in the trade, what best accounts for the observed patterns? Our offerings on the second question are more preliminary than our findings on the first part. They are broken down into an attempt to integrate trends in the slave trade with recent findings on non-slave transoceanic labor flows. An analysis of age and sex variations over time and space in the slave trade alone. Finally, we comment on the importance of these findings for larger issues in both intercontinental migration and demography. Okay? So, they go into the data. Now, I'm not going to, be painstaking in this the reading of this article, but it should be abundantly clear that more males were trafficked in the transatlantic slave-based practice than women. Now, not to say that women weren't trafficked. I'm not saying that. But primarily, the slave trade, what black people went through with the slave trade was something primarily endured by men. Between 1663 and 1864, some 10 million slaves left Africa for the New World. About 4/5 of all the coerced transatlantic migrants. These Africans were transported by about 27,000 separate slaving expeditions. So they went back and forth and back and forth. They went one way 27,000 times. That's the range, right? Okay. Thus, in a typical year of peace in this period, when they weren't killing each other, they were trafficking black male bodies and black female bodies to a smaller degree, and children to an even smaller degree. In a typical year of peace in this period, 170 slave ships set out on the Middle Passage. For 2,649 of these expeditions, and 680,550 of the Africans they carried, nearly 10% of the ships and 7 through 8% of the slaves involved in the traffic data have survived on the age and sex of the migrants. All regions of Africa, they don't have all of the records in the accounts, but they have corroborating evidence from what people have said, what they asked for, what they requested, along with the documents in order to make this determination. Okay? All regions of Africa and the Americas, as well as all major countries in which the slave ships were registered, are represented in the sample. The most important gaps in the data are the trade to Brazil and the Portuguese traffic more generally before 1810. But it should be noted that the African regions from which the Portuguese drew in this period, with the exception of the immediate hinterlands of Luanda and Benguela, are included in the present data set. The Dutch, the French, the British all traded heavily in the Zaire River region and adjacent areas. So I'm not going to read too much further, I swear. But I am going to show you a chart after this. There have been several recent presentations of new data on age and sex in the transatlantic slave trade. Gegas, for example, used most of the data in the present set in summary form. So that's somebody to look at. Gegas, slave trade. And he put it in the summary form so you can see it with your own eyes if you care to look at it and see it for yourself. The major additions to our set compared to his Table 1 are posthumous data for Dutch free traders, the early 18th century Danish trade, and substantial additions to the British slave trade, 1630 through 1730, particularly as it relates to African origins. The main limitation of Gegas's impressive assemblage of data is its aggregated nature, which prevents testing for significance as well as breakdowns by individual year and region, among other possibilities. The major advance offered by the data set used here is that it is an integration of these earlier sets as well as a supplement. So they're going on and on and on, talking about the way the data is aggregated and the strengths and weaknesses related to how the data was collected and presented and so on and so forth. I ain't got time for all that. Anyway, adult-dominated slave trade ? The prevailing view is that male adults dominated or at least formed a high proportion of slaves removed from Africa. The terms high and low have no absolute significance, of course. The same ratio appears high to some and low to others. We use 3 ways to establish benchmarks. We compare men to other categories entering the traffic, women, girls, and boys, to see if men were the majority group. Next, we compare male and child ratios among deportees with those in populations from which migrants were drawn. Finally, we examine the slave trade ratios against a backdrop of other transatlantic migrant flows. And it says Table 1 presents a preliminary breakdown of the shares of men, women, girls, and boys in the transatlantic traffic by century. The raw data entered the historical record as individual shipments of slaves, and because these shipments were widely varied in size, shipments varied widely in size from 1 to 891, the data are weighted by size of shipment prior to the calculation of the means. Table 1 shows that men were the largest single category. But that they made up less than half of those Africans that crossed the Atlantic. The table also suggests that the proportion of women dropped markedly from a relatively high level in the 17th century, while the shares of both boys and girls rose strongly in the 19th century, with the increase in the ratio of girls undergoing the most dramatic change of any of the categories. So in the 19th century, they start to want girls and women because in 1830, it was becoming illegal, and this is my own commentary, it was becoming illegal to transport slaves across the transatlantic, and it was primarily a strategy used by Britain. And they had their political reasons. They wanted to squeeze the neck of the Americas because they, at one time, the British ruled the high seas and the oceans. British is known for its navy and the superiority of its navy. That's just my own commentary. From this perspective, then, men were not in the majority overall when you start to compare men, women, boys, and girls. That's what they're saying. But I don't look at it that way. I want to look at males. Let's separate males from females. Let's look at it that way. Don't measure men against boys and girls and women. Just measure the males. And to determine whether or not this was something that was dominated by males, not men. Because boys are growing into, trending towards, building towards, grow and mature into men. So they know what the hell they were doing. Our second benchmark, the demographic profile of provident societies must be estimated. In modern Western societies, the ratio of men is typically 105, 106, or male percentage around 47, with those under the age of 15 forming 1/5 to 1/4 of the population. And then they go into this breakdown of the relationship between men and women in various demographics of the country. I just want to get to table one. Mean shares of men, women, boys, and girls in transatlantic slave shipments, from 1663 to 1864. This is Geggis's, what he was referring to earlier, Geggis's table in the different periods. And you see, primarily in the column of men, the ratio is pretty much the same. It's around half. Five. Then you get like a small one. I don't know what the little small number is in the parentheses. I guess ships, the number of ships that they counted, right? Or the average of the ships. So about 13%, 13, 14, whatever. So we're looking at 50%, women 37%, boys 84%, girls 40% from 1663 to 1700. Then in 1700, from 1800, you get 50% men, 28% women, 12% boys, or 13% boys, 80% girls. 1804, 1864, you get 42% men, 16 or 17% women, 25% boys, 15% girls. 1663, 1864, you get, I guess they, adding all this shit together, 48% men, damn near 50% men, 26% women, 15% boys, and 9% girls. So you're starting to get the picture, man. I'm not going to continue to go into this shit. I'm just saying. Let me go back to my main screen, man. Let me go back to my main screen. So you can see that primarily the transatlantic slave trade was a slave trade that trafficked in black male bodies. Now, not to say, I said it even before at the beginning, it wasn't as if women weren't transported here at all. But primarily, they trafficked in male slaves because males are the ones who primarily did most of the death dealing or back-breaking work. And not to say that women weren't out there working. Some were, but not all of them were. A lot of women were house slaves. I know you hate to hear that shit, but that's just the reality of the situation. We have to start telling the truth about this shit. Because right now, we have an entirely different worldview that basically paints black men as somehow having been privileged during slavery. What the fuck kind of crazy shit is that? Now they talking about we got the biggest piece of chicken at the table. Now they saying we got penis privilege. Now check it out, man. I'm not trying to throw salt on what women endured during slavery. I'm not doing that shit. But we have to start telling the truth. Because I've seen articles where it's been stated that men had privileges, males, because they weren't men. Let's just get this shit straight. That male slaves somehow had it better on the plantation. How is being subjected to more rigorous work to the point where you are killed more often? How in the fuck does that break down to being privileged? Huh? How? How? Explain it. And see, look, here's the deal. And I'm not trying to be ignorant by saying this, but a lot of women during slavery had situations where they had it much better than the men on these plantations, especially if they was giving the master some of that sugar. You can say what you want. You can read it how you want. You can interpret it in whatever way you wish or you desire. Like take, for example, the relationship between Alexander Hamilton and Sally Hemings. Now, yeah, it's true. The situation was one where there was a power relationship where she had to give up the kitty cat to old Alex Hamilton. I think that's the right person I'm talking about. It could be Jefferson. I can't recall right now. I'm getting old. Okay? But whatever the case may be, having to every now and then give up the ass to massa is a whole lot different than going to work your goddamn ass to the bone in a goddamn cotton field or a sugar plantation. I'm just saying. I'm going to take a break right. I'll be right back. So here I am. I'm back. I'm not trying to throw salt on black women. A lot of people think that I'm here trying to throw salt on black women. I'm not. But given the current political climate that we lived in, there are people slinging mud all over the place. I'm not here for that, man. I'm here to tell the truth, man. Let the chips fall where they may. If your feelings hurt, so goddamn what, man. I don't care about your feelings. I care about let's explain this truthfully, earnestly, and honestly. A lot of times, and look, Meta Ace brings this up. A lot of women who were slaves could earn their freedom by having babies or performing other maternal duties towards the mistress of the household. I'm just saying. So thank you all for correcting me. It wasn't Alexander Hamilton. It was Thomas Jefferson. And I apologize. You know, I'm a rusty old guy. And I'm not, I'm not, I'm not trying to be deprecating to anybody. We got to tell the truth about this shit here. We have to. So let me Because I'm pretty sure some women will be shocked by this. Because the common notion is that all over the place, black women as slaves were like just raped forcibly again and again and again and again. And I think it was a domination situation. I do think that it was a situation in which women couldn't deny the force of the master. But to argue that all of this shit was just brutal, it's just not telling the truth about human nature and the nature of power relationships among human beings. Some of the women went into this fucking relationship willingly. Even as some men dealt with the situations in which they were in willingly. We got to tell the truth. We got to tell the truth. So, having said that, there are some people in the stream or in the chat who have some knowledge about this subject matter. I just wanted to clear up the facts. That the slave trade was something that black men predominantly suffered. And that their mortality rate was higher than that of other demographics on the plantation. But somehow, currently, we have a narrative which explains it in the exact opposite way. It's inverted now. And it's predicated upon a political orientation towards feminism. That's just the truth, man. It is what it is. So any of y'all, man, if you want to come in and you want to make a statement or you want to leave a comment, please feel free to do so now. And also, I'm going to leave, because the campaign starts tonight, I'm going to leave a link to the Indiegogo campaign so you can help us get this damn thing started, man. And I know some people are going to be disparaging about the campaign and, they're going to look down on it and hate on it. Just like people want to be haters. But we're going to love our haters in 2021, especially if they're a part of the black community. We're going to let them know, hey, man, all that hating is hurting. You ain't got to hate forever, man. We know you hurting inside. So we're going to do something to build you up. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. That's how we're going to rock this season. This is how we're going to rock. So I'll leave it in the description. But again, if anybody wants to come in and make a comment or a statement, feel free to do so now. Male, female. And then a lot of times people get scared to come into my channel because they think I'm going to yell at them. I'm not here to yell. Actually, I'm quite kind to the people that come in. I'm very respectful when they come in. Unless they start talking a whole bunch of bullshit. Then I let them have it. But I'm sincere with this here, man. I'm not playing games, man. I'm not. I'm here to tell the truth, to kick the truth to the young black youth. And you old motherfuckers too. I'm here, man, to tell the truth, man. I'm not here to play games. I'm here to keep it 100, man. I'm here to keep it 1,000. So, it is what it is. So I'll leave the description in the chat. But the one thing, whatever it is, since y'all don't want to talk to me tonight, I feel insulted, but it's okay. But look, whatever you do tonight, male or female, young or old, gay or straight, be safe tonight, man. And Happy New Year! Happy motherfucking New Year. Yeah. I'm a
phenomenon. I shine like Orion. I came in a rap gang to smack it up like Heron, transform it like Megatron. Wait, like Yamatron. Most rappers are some peons. I'ma starve them like Ramadan. I'm troublesome. You don't really want no troublesome, cause I pop guns like hood chicks do bubble gum. I been dumb, gon' stay that way till kingdom come. When the sun I'm at, unleash a demon of Polygon. I'm heavy, son. Got more knowledge than Farrakhan, more game than Cap. Karma that bishop named Don Juan. Stay lit off some Shandon. Maybe Bacardi Ram. Stay drink to some Nordstrom. Call me that Dapper Don. More violent than Genghis Khan. The members of Taliban. Niggas faker than Silicon. Get hit like a .com. Like soldiers in Lebanon. I'm bringing that red rum. When I get through with you, son, you gon' think of C-Ram. I carry weight like a heavyweight. Bake more cakes than patty cake. Watch the fiend salivate. You a lightweight, bantamweight. Better contemplate. If you violate, make you levitate to the pearly gates. I fascinate when I conversate from the show me state where these niggas love the hate and hot murder rate or the waste. But this flow is just a taste of God's grace. Shining this light in the ugly place in the prophecy. Got more wisdom than Socrates' philosophies. You don't really want no parts of me, can't you see? I'm slicker than Mephistopheles, stronger than Hercules, more dangerous than the Damocles. The MCs trying me pretty please. I wet up they white tees, knock them out they wallabies. Now they touch my deliries. For coming up short of the little C's when I break out the killer bees. I study music like Karkasi, hit chicks look like Ashanti. When I'm breaking them off, they yell at odd poppy. You rack rappers is sloppy, you can't stop me with that. We can sorry, copy, Malaki. I'm a monster like Frankenstein, rock harder than Palestine. You slams, dropping dimes, a snake and serpentine. Stand and see me glow like Nas with his big shine. All you haters cold in it, cold sores need calamine, but my hot shit like red bricks.
So look, Meta Omega has come into the stream. I stopped the outro just to get this brother to speak his mind, whether he's in agreement or not, whatever he has to say. I want to shout out to you, brother. Shalom, peace,
peace.
Yes.
Shout outs to you too. I just wanted to almost pulled out my headphones. I just wanted to support what you've been saying because I was in the comments. And I noticed there's a detractor in there, but that's halfway irrelevant. What do you know about Fender Lawrence?
I don't.
Oh, you want to hear? You want to hear about Fender Lawrence?
Go ahead, Tom. Kick it to me, bro.
She's a wonderful person. Let's see. I'm opening up my photo file right now because I like having screenshots of my data so I could just put them right in somebody's comments on Facebook. She's a wonderful person, you know. She's a great person. I'm being 100% sarcastic. Let's read about her. Fender Lawrence, 18th century, notable Gambian slave trader, was a free black woman and a relatively wealthy merchant who visited the American South in the second half of the 18th century, largely but not exclusively to trade in slaves and other things. She was a partner to an English merchant with the last name of Lawrence. Fender Lawrence traveled to the British North American colonies, now the U.S., with respect and status as a person of color. At the time, she was described in some European sources as a considerable trader in the River Gambia on the coast of Africa. Yeah.
Okay.
You know that. Thought that would be interesting to share in this podcast right now, in this show right now. Thought it would be some interesting info. And there's another piece to that. It's connected. Let me show you this right here. Hold on.
Well, you're not showing it to me, but you can detail it and leave a link to it.
I'll detail it. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna inbox it to you on Facebook. I'm your friend on Facebook under my government name. So.
Okay. Well, if you're a friend to me, okay.
All right. I'm gonna inbox it to you. All right. Here's another one. This piece of data right here. All right. Who were the majority of the so-called black slave owners? Them and their mulatto offspring. Who were the majority of the enslaved? Black men. Now, this is another piece of data right here. The majority of urban black slave owners were women. In 1820, free black women represented 68% of heads of households and 70% of slave-holding heads of colored households. The large percentage of black women slave owners is explained by the combined effects of manumission, being freed by their white masters, for whom they fathered children, inheritance, receiving slaves from their white masters, relatives, and even husbands who had a higher mortality rate than women, and you said that earlier, and personal industry once they were free, buying them themselves. They were the majority of slaves emancipated by white slave-owning men with whom they had had sexual relations. The misogynist nature of South Carolina society is nowhere better revealed by the fact that 33% of all recorded colonial manumissions were mulatto children and 75% of all adult manumissions were females.
Mm. Hey man, I mean, this stuff is real, man. This stuff is real, and we got to start telling the truth about it. And I appreciate the information that you've given me, because this kind of information is kind of concealed. Now, I mean,
Right.
it's different ways to read this. Like, so some people try to put spin on it and say, well, women involved in the slave trade who were black, they did so in order to buy slaves so that they could free them and give them better conditions to live under. Now, we
Right.
all know that, like, look, human nature is what it is. It could go both ways. Like, some of these women could be like, I'm hooking up with Zaddy.
Yeah.
I'm sucking him, fucking him real good. He gonna give me this freedom, girl. I'm popping this pussy on him. This juicy got him crazy.
About to go. He about to drop a
eh,
bag of niggas on me. A whole bag of niggas. Come on now.
I
A
mean,
whole
like,
bag.
Like,
That's
we
like
gotta
the
be
voodoo.
honest. We gotta be honest, but we don't want to be honest about this. And see, this is the dirt that, if dug up, would change the way that we perceive some of the things that black women have done and some of the claims that they're making about slavery. Right?
That's
Now,
factual.
now, I'm just saying, but we gotta start telling the truth about this shit. And not to detract though, some black men were on some Uncle George sellout shit too.
I heard, and somebody tried to explain both of them away by saying that in those days we didn't have a way to hire any not slaves, but we didn't have a way to hire any skilled workers. Like if you needed a fence made, there wasn't a way to get a fence poster without having a slave. You couldn't hire somebody white to work for you that had a skill. And I guess for some, I don't know who the person was explaining, I forgot, but they were like, they couldn't find enough black skilled workers. So that was the excuse that they had for this process.
Yeah,
Because
well,
it was out of necessity.
And look, we can make arguments all day long, but like, we all know that some black people were, looking for what they could get within the confines of the system, and they would treat their own kind just as horribly as they would treat,
Of course, just like now.
a dog in the alley, man. Like, I mean, let's just be honest about this, man. Like, the truth is stranger than fiction, but we like narratives that benefit the innate goodness and the innate purity of women, and they're human beings, man. And they use the pussy to get what they want. Let's just be honest about this, man. And and men, women, whatever the case may be, we got to start telling the truth about this. We got to tell the truth, right? And some men were just as treacherous as some women. Okay,
Of course.
black men. So but we gotta tell the whole truth. This is not disrespecting any individual woman right here today, but it's like we got to start telling the truth about what happened in the past so we can make sense of the present. That's what I'm saying.
Factual.
We have to do that. So I'm not here to placate anybody. I'm not here to hold motherfuckers' hands. I'm here to tell the truth, man. All of it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You want to start with the good? We already started with the good. It's time to go to the ugly. Now maybe then we can get back to the bad and try to get through to the good. That's my whole methodology. That's my whole thinking about this. But thank you, my brother, for coming through and dropping those gems. I'm going to research and look into that further myself.
Yeah. I'm going to inbox you some of those because they're just screenshots, and some of them have links attached, and then they'll lead you to where you need to go and look at the whole information because it's interesting.
For sure, man. Appreciate it, my brother. And you have a safe and a happy new year, man.
All right, you too. Peace.
All right. Thank you, man. So look, again, not trying to be deprecating towards anyone or disparaging towards anyone. I keep using that disclaimer. But we got to tell the truth about this, man. And I also want to give a shout out to hiphop.cattv or hiphop.catv. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your help and your support, man. And I'd like to give you a round of fanfare, sir. I sure would. So having said that, man, I'm going to do this a second time. Happy motherfucking New Year, man. I'll holler at y'all, man.